Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Hooligan Alley Hangout. It's your host, J.W. Sims. Uh, our co host, Katrina Rotes, is not here tonight. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if she's forgot about us this week or what, but if she happens to show up, we'll bring her on. But tonight we have two guests with us. It is the creators of the Bardic Verses, which is funding right now on Kickstarter. I'll bring them in. It is Matt Sumo and Pete Collins. Let me bring them on. Let me hit the right button. How you guys doing tonight?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
Nice. At least you're in my time zone. I get some people sometimes. Well, I have one who comes on every month, and he's from the UK, so it's like 2 o'clock in the morning for him. But he always wants to come on. I'm like, dude, if you want to stay up till that time, you're more than welcome. But but I always like to start out with some news that for the week. Last week we didn't do any, so I'm just gonna. The first thing that I had found out this week that Batgirls is coming to DC Comics just in time for Christmas. So this book is trying to find my notes. The wrong place there. But it is from, if I can find, Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad. Art's going to be Jorge Corona, and it is Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown. They're teaming up with the original Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, also known as Oracle, and it's described as a pizza slumber party of a series packed with energy, attitude, and friendship. So it's kind of like our old school Birds of Prey, I guess, with Oracle, but I kind of think it's not going to be what we think it is because the art kind of looks kind of Squirrel Girlish, like that kind of book geared more towards girls. Another book that they have coming out in December, there's actually 5 new books they're releasing in December, is World of Krypton, which is going to take place the last days of Krypton. I believe it is only a 6-issue series, and it's going to be written by Robert Venditti, and Michael Avon Oming is doing the art.
Nice.
That'll be interesting. Then there's a new Swamp Thing book that's coming out by Jeff Lemire. It's a 3-part Black Label series, and that's going to deal with the last days of humans on the Earth, and the green, the red, and the rot decide to wipe the Earth clean. So they summon a mysterious avatar to move this process along. So that'll be kind of interesting. And then there's also a 6-issue One Star Squadron miniseries by Mark Russell and Steve Lieber. It says heroism meets capitalism, and that's the Red Tornado tries to form his own team with Power Girl, Gangbuster, and Minuteman. And they say it's Superman level service at bizarro prices. So that's
adorable.
Yeah. So, I think there's one more book. It's going to take place right after that Fear State that's going on in Batman right now. So I guess it's a continuation, and also the new writer will be taking over for Batman in January. So that's
Nice.
Yes. And then also I always mess up his name, but J.M. DeMatteis, he's going to be returning to Marvel Comics. He is going to be writing the Ben Reilly Spider-Man book. That is actually I was checking on today, and it takes place during the Clone Saga. So it's going to be back into the 90s whenever Ben had taken over for Peter. And I can't remember. I did look and see who was doing the art. David Baldion, he did X Factor and Domino. So that'll be interesting. And Steve Skroce, or Skroki, or however you say his last name, is doing the art for the first cover at least. So I haven't seen him do anything in the big 2 in a while. So
there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things there that sound really good.
Yeah.
There's a few things that got me thrown off, but but the creators, I have faith in those guys. That's a good list.
DeMatteis was a good Spider-Man writer when he was on it before.
Oh yeah. He did Kraven's Last Hunt, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
so it'll be interesting to see how that goes, because everyone thought when they heard this book was coming out, that meant Peter was going to die, and he was taking it. So we'll see what's going on. But then I also find out today that Matt Wagner's Grendel lives on Netflix.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Dark Horse had signed a first look deal with Netflix after, that's what led to the Umbrella Academy. So now they've picked up Grendel, and it's going.
Wow.
It is. Let me find my notes because I'm on the wrong page. Yeah. But it's going to be live action. It's supposed to start shooting the end of this year, beginning of next year, and it's going to focus on Hunter Rose.
Nice.
They already have the cast in place. I don't know who any of these people are, but it says it's focused on Hunter, a gifted fencer, writer, and assassin. While seeking to avenge the death of his lost love, he goes to war with the criminal underworld, only to realize why beat them when you can join them. So that'll be. I love those stories. So it'd be interesting to see. And I guess
it raises an interesting question: why beat them when you can join them?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
But that was a book I wasn't sure I'd ever see in any form,
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting because I like the Umbrella Academy. They've done a really good job with that. And Andrew Dabb, who is a writer on Supernatural, is actually writing it, and he's the showrunner for it.
Nice.
Oh, I'm sold. 100% sold.
Yes.
They could honestly cast like a bunch of stray cats, and I'd be fine with it. Then it's in good hands.
Yeah,
it's in good hands. I kind of hope that means that somewhere down the road maybe we get Mage. That was one I was into back in the day. I loved that book.
That was really good. They did bring it back a while ago, maybe a year or two ago for a mini series at Image.
Yeah, yeah. I remember seeing something for it. I never picked it up though. I should double check.
Also, last but not least, Sabretooth finally returns to the X-Men, coming in January. We haven't seen him in 2 years since the X-Men kind of sent him to the depths of Krakoa. So he's finally getting his own series. It's going to, I guess, focus on his time there and how he escaped. It's written by Victor Lavelle and art by Leonard Kirk, and Ryan Stegman's doing the covers. So,
nice.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
There's Braden Cox. Hey, Braden. Braden was one of the many people that was on the show last week of our 5 million.
Nice.
He has a book right now on Kickstarter, Sever. You should check it out.
Yeah, I saw something for that the other day.
Yeah.
So yesterday? Today. Maybe today.
Yeah. They just
might have been
one of those days.
Yeah. Well, good luck.
Sometime in the last few days. But so you guys have a book, the Bardic Verses, that is on Kickstarter right now. Tell me about it. I know I read a little bit about it, but let the people at home know what's going on with that.
Sure. It's about a bard that is trying to escape the long shadow of his warrior family legacy. All of the patriarchs in his family were all great famous warriors, and he was not that. He decided to pursue music over adventuring and sword play and things like that, and fighting. So he kind of has to deal with the fact that his father was famous for being a warrior, and he is not that. We kind of we follow him through a couple of adventures. So basically, the way the book is framed, it's set up kind of like an anthology, right? This bard is in a tavern playing a set list of songs, or verses as we call them. All of these verses are stories illustrated in different art styles, kind of to reflect different styles of music. But we find out they are all sort of singular stories that can take place on their own, but it's actually one long journey that brings him to that bar that he's playing that set list in for a certain reason, which we find out later on in the book.
Nice. So is it like an anthology? Do you have other creative teams involved, or is it just?
It's laid out very much like an anthology, right? Where every song or section of the book, their story, it's like its own little tale, a little tale that builds up to you finding out why he is where he is at the beginning of the book. But it is Matt handles all the writing for every single section, and I handle all of the art. That's lines, that's colors, the works. And we've got a top-notch letterist, Matt Krotzer, on board to do some font magic and lay down the letters.
Nice. So, because I was looking through that, and I started that you do all those different art styles.
Yes, sir.
Because when I was looking through it, I was like, who else is in the book? I was like, because these are like different art styles, and so that was like that's. We'll look at it later. I was amazed. I was like, that's cool. Like, because I tried to do that. I tried to work on different art styles, and it's not easy.
No. That was part of the allure, the challenge.
Yeah. So how did you guys decide on what's the I guess we always say the origin story of this book, what because there's so many different things. So what made you decide to pick a bard and do his tales or verses as we?
So it was kind of Pete's idea. It was kind of it was like the perfect storm. It was around the time when the Witcher TV series was on Netflix. We really enjoyed the bard character on there. Pete had mentioned to me Pete's a tabletop role player, so he kind of talked about bards. He had played bards in the past, and just told me about how underrepresented they are. No one really likes to play that character, right? Because it's not the cool guy. It's not the guy with the sword doing the cool stuff. He's the guy in the background, inspiring the other players. So I wanted, I was kind of obsessed with this underdog character, and what would it be like if he was almost the ultimate underdog by being the son of a famous warrior and having to deal with that. So yeah, we were working on another project that kind of had some weird stops and starts. We started workshopping Bardic Verses, and then once I think we did the first 5 or 6 pages. Once we had those down, it was off to the races after that. We were workshopping it, super collaborative. And yeah, that was a little over a year ago, and now the book is about 95% done, sequential art wise. So yeah, it's been a blast.
Yeah.
So you guys were a team before this book? You've known each other before?
Not exactly. So we both have the same day job. Or the same employer, I should say. And it was it all kind of I heard about him, he heard about me, and our comic book related interests. And at the holiday party that year was the first time we really met, at least to have a conversation about something that wasn't just work,
Yeah.
And he was working on in an anthology called Kayfabe Volume 3, which is a wrestling anthology.
Yep.
Totally worth checking out. And we basically he asked if I was interested in doing a pinup, and I was, and that was really the first thing we did. We did, and then it kind of just took off from there.
Nice. It's cool. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. But,
it's all good. If you saw my setup, I got an iPad on a stool on a laundry basket with a cup of water on the basket. Also, it's I'm not even making that up. Just to get it here and not.
Yeah, I understand. There's some people come on and it's I don't know. Katrina, she had to buy a webcam because the webcams on her laptop is down by the keyboard. It's like at the bottom of the monitor instead of the top. So it looked like it's like this, and it's like looking up at her the whole time.
Terrible.
Yeah, it's like
like
What
the
is that?
like the watcher looming overhead
yeah.
kind of thing. Like,
Yeah. So you have watched What If? I take it. Everyone likes
yeah.
to-
I mean, I'm caught up. I think some of the episodes have been hits and misses.
Yeah.
I wasn't, the last one I felt like ended abruptly.
That's like the last couple they have. Like the zombies one, you don't know if they had the whatever, and they were taking. They had the gem, and they were taking off to go like try to save everybody, and that's where it ended. And I'm like,
Yeah, that one I felt could have been twice as long. Like they packed a lot in there,
yeah,
But
I if you have on Disney Plus, if you actually look at the MCU timeline, because they have everything in timeline.
Mhm.
Loki happens before Scarlet. I mean, before WandaVision and before, the other one, and then of course this show, but the Bucky and Falcon show. But so I'm like, because the lines diverge there. So I'm like, are these happening in our timeline or is it in a divergent timeline? So it's
good
like,
question.
yeah.
Good question.
It's very interesting that they would line it up like that, because who knows? And I've heard that these aren't the end of these what if things. Like they could show up later on in the MCU. So
Yeah,
so
here's hoping.
It's pretty interesting. Yeah.
So some of them I wouldn't mind seeing again, but I also noticed they've gotten darker as they've gone. Like the stories have got progressively darker. And someone pointed out in every episode we see more of the Watcher. Like in the first episode, he was just like these eyes and stars, and by this time, came up like you could see his whole body pretty much. So he just keeps getting closer and closer.
Yeah, I
It's
wonder
gotta be
if that.
building.
Yeah, I wonder if that means that he's gonna interfere. I know he doesn't, but is he gonna show up and step in on something? Like, what's the end game? What's the end game there? Ha!
I'm really hoping though in the Doctor Strange movie we get to see the evil Doctor Strange.
I would dig that.
Yeah,
I
that'd be
like that
cool.
we actually had the comic book accurate costume to the evil Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I would dig that.
But let's go ahead and look at the Bardic Verses. If I can, I tell everybody I've been doing this for 9 months and I still can't figure out how to use StreamYard. So just
No
bear
worries.
with me a second. And I saw big part is remembering where it's at. Let me see. There we go. Can we see it? And that's another thing. I can't see you while I'm doing it. All right. So where are we at? Oh, we're less than $600 away with over 3 weeks to go. So that's pretty good, actually. Was this a 30-day campaign?
It's a little over 30 because we're aiming to end. Well, we're going to end right after New York Comic Con.
Yes,
because that's a local show for us. Well, for me, and we want to kind of do or we were hoping to do one last push during that weekend. It looks like, fingers crossed, we might not have to do that, but we're gonna anyway.
Yeah.
It's a good excuse to meet people and exchange germs via handshakes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been to New York Comic Con a couple times. It's been a while since I've been there, but I was in the 501st Legion. So
nice.
Cool.
We're packed in shoulder to shoulder, and plus you're in a costume with a helmet, and talk about claustrophobic.
I can imagine.
I was like, this is just it's like being in a mosh pit. You just ride the wave of people through that.
That's basically. I can't imagine doing Comic-Con and were you a stormtrooper? Did you have the full
TIE
kit?
pilot? Yeah, TIE pilot.
Okay.
So, or as everyone likes to call me, or everyone likes to call us, Darth Vader, because they think that's the only black character in the
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I've seen the 501st at Boston Comic Con.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
You You guys, it's good stuff.
Yeah. I always have trouble explaining people who don't know what it is explaining what it is
Yeah.
because, and I'll be like, "Well, did you see the Mandalorian?" All right, at the end of the first season, all those stormtroopers, those are 501st people. So, all right, let's get back to this. All right, 103 backers. That's
Yeah, we crossed the 100 threshold earlier today,
nice.
which is a milestone, that we were kind of pushing for. So that's awesome.
Nice. Okay. I hate the way this thing rules. It just doesn't rule.
Yeah, it's very
Easy.
strange.
Yeah. All right, that's all just correct. Okay. So here's some of the art. This is a 60-page book, or where did I read that? 66 pages.
66 pages of sequential art, 80 pages total. So we've got some great back matter that'll be included, character sheets, pinups, a map of the setting, maybe some other stuff.
Nice. So I just it's amazing. Especially on this page, is this just like a...
That's just a collage to kind of show the range that we're going with here. We're through different portions of the book. I'm channeling like a 1930s black and white Sin City-esque style. I'm harnessing my inner extreme 90s Rob Liefeld.
Yeah, I say that kind of. That's what I was feeling there.
We've got some Disney, some Kirby, some Ryan Oatley, and then my stuff. So, and Bill Watterson.
Yeah.
Can't forget Bill Watterson.
Wow. I mean, because if I didn't know, that looks like it's a bunch of different people. I love that.
That's the goal.
I love the Disney one. That looks. I mean, that's cool.
That's one of my favorites. That's probably my favorite section of the book.
Surprisingly, the hardest one for me to write.
Really?
Yeah, there's a tiny musical number in there, like Disney likes to do. So I had to write lyrics, and it was very difficult, but it was fun. Ultimately, it's a great. I think it's I call it the turning point in the book. There's a huge among this this silliness, right? There's a huge there's a huge emotional turning point in the book. There's a huge moment in the book that happens in that story among this craziness. And it honestly, Pete showed me the pages of that specific moment, and I got a little misty. I can't lie. Someone was suddenly cutting onions in my apartment. It's really good, and I love it because it's a great moment, but it also really informs the rest of the book. You feel you might be like, oh, these are just a collection of fun stories, and then it's oh no, there's something else happening here, and we get into it in the next couple stories.
So each of these stories is a song that he's singing at the bar.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's a song or a story that he's telling.
Yeah,
he's playing
music. Bards are kind of that storytelling stuff. So, all right, well, that's cool. That one with the punch too. I guess those are two different pictures, right?
Well, actually, that's good catch. Good catch. So, when we started on the book, I initially started drawing sequentially from page 1 straight through in order. And I found that as I was bouncing back and forth, trying to harness other styles that I'm not accustomed to drawing, that it actually changed my art style. So I pulled up some good habits, some bad habits, and I had to kind of realign the way that I draw. So that picture that's right there. That's the original version of that same picture right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, good catch.
Yeah, because at first I thought it was, and I was like, wait, no, the hair's different. And then
that's actually that punch is page 1 of the book. So, as soon as you open the book and you get to the first sequential page, we open with him getting punched in the face.
Oh, that's great.
for a couple different reasons. One, I thought it was hilarious. Two, like I kind of miss when comics would open with like a one-page splash, like just again like a punch to the face, right? Like that's literally what it is. And it just again it just speaks to him as a character. Like people don't take him seriously because he's not a warrior; he's a bard. So it's just again it's a fun moment to open the book with, and it really like brings the whole book together.
Nice. And then I think this up here is this like page 1. Is that page 2 then? Because it looks like he's on the ground and he's up.
Yep, that's the first 3 pages.
All right, so then we have, say, 7 reward tiers.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a physical reward, and is that the physical copy of the book, right? And what else do they get with that? I'm trying to. My eyes don't work.
The physical copy of the book comes with 2 stickers, a heavy cardstock bookmark, a book plate, which will be signed by myself and both of the mats, and it'll be married up with a hard cardstock backer, and then individually shrink wrap, just to make sure that it's a package. You know, like we want it, and we want to give it extra protection in the mailers. So, yeah.
And of course, you're one, and then you have digital for 20.
Yep, and the digital and the physical are both the same dollar point, right? They're both $20. The only difference being with anything physical, there's of course shipping that's added in. The digital version is also included with the physical version, which is super cool. And it comes with Matsumo Greatest Hits Volume 6, the Ballad Years, and it's a collection of some of Matt's stuff. Cue your stuff, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bunch of it's some one-page comics that I wrote when I was kind of in between gigs. It may or may not be a work for hire entire trade paperback that I wrote quite a while ago, and just some other like odds and ends that I was involved in. Just a nice additional PDF on top of the 80-page PDF they'll get for supporting that tier.
Nice.
Awesome.
Let's see if I get the right place. Oh, and this is like a retailer pack, I take it.
Yeah, and it's five individually packaged physical copies, stickers, bookmark, etc. At cost. There's zero profit on that one.
Call this one the physical versus plus traditional art. So this gives you all the other stuff plus what size is that? I can't.
That one is 5x7.
5x7 commission inked.
Yep, and that will be included in the shrink wrapped package as well, just to make sure that it's safe. It will ship with the physical book. The picture will be of either Martil, our main character, or a secondary character Matt and I have kind of inadvertently fallen in love with, and that's Gary. He is a yellow goblin. We're not sure if he's just got really bad jaundice or if all goblins are yellow in our world, but he's yellow.
And this is that, but you get a digital.
Yeah, so this both of the next 2 tiers are geared toward TTRPG players, right? So in this particular one, you get the physical copy, which of course the digital comes with that. It all stacks up. And this includes a digital portrait. It's a high resolution image of your tabletop game character of choice. If you play Shadowrun, Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, Cthulhu, whatever, I will draw your character for you, and you get a snazzy high definition digital portrait to do with what you will. And this is the same exact thing, only instead of just it being a digital copy, you also get an 11. Is it 11 by 7? Yeah,
11 by 17.
11 by, yeah. What's wrong? I'm all weird with numbers today. It's an 11 by 17 by 3/4 canvas.
Oh, so it's like a framed canvas, or whatever, stretched
Yeah,
over the.
it's stretched around a wood frame. I've worked with a couple of different canvas companies doing portraits for people, signs, that sort of thing. So I've got a good relationship, and I know their quality, and their quality is top notch. So we figured that would be a nice little add-in.
That's cool. Let's come back up to the top real quick. Yeah, so we only need, like I said, less than $600 in 3 weeks. That shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I'm not thinking it will be.
And we always share all that stuff out. I usually do a spotlight thing on the weekends, and I share all the stuff that I've had on the show and do a little write-up about them. So,
Awesome. Cool.
So kind of little like review stuff. I don't know, because I go through everything and try to find as much as I can. But I also see, Katrina's not here. She likes to call these my silly questions. I don't think they're silly, but she does, because she doesn't. She's a comic book editor. She doesn't read comic books, so she always thinks they're silly. So
well, I hope they're a little silly. Silly questions are actually my specialty.
Nice.
So
nice.
I'm cool with that.
The one's not too silly. I just like to know, what's your favorite comic book series, whether it's something now that you're reading, or something that as you were growing up, a series that was your favorite.
Ooh, that is a deeper question than it seems. I'd have to say one of my favorites is Invincible. I love it. I've read the series in its entirety multiple times. I have damn near every issue. So I love that book to death. X-Men as a whole. I got into X-Men in the 90s when it was hot, and read consecutively all the way up through the Grant Morrison stuff. And that's kind of when I dropped off
I don't blame you.
Yeah, it got a little hard to choke down sometimes.
Yeah.
And then I recently got back into it, and I've been back collecting as much as I can. Actually, as we speak, my weird little setup here is actually balanced on an essential X-Men Essential number 3. So
nice.
Yeah. So where I can't collect, I still get.
Very cool. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, for me, I have a couple answers, so I'm going to cheat a little bit. My first answer is Y: The Last Man. I'm a huge Brian K. Vaughan fan. He's kind of one of the creators that really brought me into wanting to write comics. So I've read Runaways, Paper Girl Saga. Pretty much anything he's laid his hands on, I've read. Y: The Last Man is probably one of my favorites. There's some stuff that doesn't really hold up these days, but it was I feel like it was ahead of its time, maybe a little bit. And it's just a phenomenal series from start to finish. And of course, finally, we get the TV show that's been in the works forever. And it's so far so good. I can't complain. It's a great time to be a fan of his, be a fan of comics, because we have such a wealth of adaptations of these stories that we love. And then I think my other one, I'm really big into Scott Snyder's run on Batman. And there's a twofold reason for that. One is because Scott's a great writer, and pairing him with Capullo, so maybe this is 3. Pairing him with Capullo was amazing. That, just the two of them together, just make magic. 2, and I guess this is kind of cheating, but he's from my neck of the woods. He's from Long Island. We shop at the same comic shop. I feel kind of a kinship with the guy, and he's super nice. I've met him in person. Super encouraging, very nice, very smart about comics. So yeah, I'm gonna pick those two as my favorite comic series for sure.
You heard it here first. Scott Snyder endorses the Bardic Verses on Kickstarter.
I wish.
Yeah,
You can always say it. It doesn't.
yeah. I say a lot of stuff.
Well, we never said it was DC Scott Snyder.
Yeah, I know a couple of Scots.
Yeah.
Just some guy named Scott.
Yeah. Anybody who's watched the show knows me. I am an old X-Men fan. I came in by accident. That's
Cool.
like it was. I used to go to this little grocery store by our house when my mom went grocery shopping, and I'd pick up G.I. Joe comic books. That's what I read, was G.I. Joe. And at that point, I was at the age where I did not realize comic books only came out once a month. So I just assumed every time I went to the grocery store, there'd be a new G.I. Joe comic book. And I went the one day, and they didn't have, it was like the same one I already had, so I was all upset, but I wanted the comic book. So I started looking through, I picked up this one, X-Men. The only thing I knew of the X-Men was the one episode of Spider-Man and his amazing friends that they were on, and that Pride of the X-Men, like, thing they did.
With Australian Wolverine.
Which I always say they were telling the future with the Australian Wolverine.
Oh yeah, Hugh Jackman, correct.
Yes. So they knew he was going to be played by an Australian the whole time. But so I opened up this issue of X-Men, and the first picture, like in the gatefold, is Spider-Man. He's being like crucified, and he's just, his costume's all torn up, and he's all bloody. And there's just this group of other characters. I had no idea who any of them were. Like, and I was like, but I could tell, like, that kind of looks like Captain America, and that kind of looks like Thor, you know. So I was like, well, I have to get this book to find out what's going on. So that was like 1988, I believe, that came out. I can't remember what issue it was, but I have not missed an X-Men issue since. Like, I have everything. So I've lived through some pretty crappy runs, but it's like, I still read it. Still get it every month. Like
Nice.
Like I seen finally that Krakoa stuff was supposed to come to an end. Thank God. Like I can't take the X-Men being invulnerable, like not being able to die. We just bring you back to life.
Yeah, I appreciate the high concept. You know,
but for me, it takes the consequences out of the stories because we'll just bring you back to life.
Yeah, and I think from like the first few issues that I picked up for that, it was evident like, this is going to end badly.
Yeah,
and like I want, that's what I'm looking forward to. It's not the story, how it ends.
Because there's certain things that has happened, like the whole point of them not bringing Destiny back. You know, they won't bring her back to life. So that's making Mystique be like, screw you guys, I'm going home.
Yeah.
And so she's gonna like do something, and this whole thing, like I said, with Sabretooth, and they sent him down to that, whatever, he's inside the planet or the island somewhere, and
there's been a couple of good sleepers, I think, out of that. Like, I didn't expect to like Hellions as much as I do.
Yeah.
Like, Hellions is great.
When I seen the people who were on that, I'm like, seriously, you're taking all these no name villains that were like C-team.
Nanny?
Yeah.
Orphan?
An Orphan Maker. Yeah. Orphan Maker. I love Orphan Maker now, like since he got kind of changed. And
and X Factor. I thought X Factor was great. Yeah, that book got canceled a little too quick, unfortunately.
Yeah, I couldn't handle issue 10 though.
It was a little forced.
I 2 years ago yesterday, my best friend, and I always say soulmate when we were, but she committed suicide, and she was a cosplayer, and her main character, like, wasn't just her main character. I mean, the Scarlet Witch was like her. Like, she associated with that character a lot. They went through a lot of the same stuff, in their lives and everything. So when I seen those last couple pages, I was like, oh my God. Like, I just couldn't.
It's hard.
Yeah. Especially like when her son like sees her laying there and he's like, Mom, and they're like holding him back. I'm like, oh no, it's just. But then she's not dead. Like I mean, it's Marvel, so we know.
They're not gonna. Yeah,
but it was just like, what did they do? Because I wasn't like, usually if they're going to kill off a character, you'll know it 4 months ahead of time. They're like, the death of this character, and then it was like, what? They just killed her off like that. Yeah. So, especially when I think right before that, when she had that meeting with Magneto, and he said that she's always his daughter, no matter what. I think that was like a little fu to Marvel.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is really just to undo the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver aren't mutants, aren't Magneto's kids stuff. I think a lot of that. I think that's what the whole story, the whole trial of Magneto thinks about.
Yeah, because that was stupid, like to take that away from those characters because you're mad at Fox. Like,
it was a bad idea.
Yeah, it was kind of like when they canceled Fantastic Four and wouldn't make them in any comic books for all those years because Fox had them and they didn't want to give Fox new stuff. Like, okay, whatever. But then I have always usually a bunch of questions. If you could be any supervillain for a day, who would you be?
Ooh. Wow. Supervillain.
Yeah.
Wow. God damn, that's a great question. Mephisto. I don't know.
Mephisto.
Yeah.
That way you can like see people think you're in every MCU thing and then
and then never show up. No, honestly, probably Magneto. I always appreciated Magneto as a character because he's a villain, but in his own mind he's not. And the reason why he's a villain would in other ways make other characters a hero. It's just the militant nature that he takes, and the way that he handles himself, but his power is awesome, right? Like, I'm gonna hold the world ransom by tilting the axis, the magnetic poles on its side. Like, okay, awesome.
So I'm really hoping after the trial of Magneto they'll let him be a villain again because I can't. I don't like superhero Magneto.
Yeah, no, I'm not a fan.
The whole Marvel thing. Oh, we'll take one of our villains, and once people start liking them, we have to make them into a hero. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, I feel you. I don't even like Venom as a hero.
Me neither. I always tell everybody too. Like, I can't stand Deadpool. I can't. I loved him when they first brought him, like when he first appeared. I tell people all the time, I was like, I know he'll never say it because Deadpool makes him a lot of money. But if Rob Liefeld is true to himself, he will know that is not the character he created.
Yeah.
It was not to be like some crazy, like talk to the camera, eat burritos, stupid character. I mean, he was always crazy.
Right.
He was crazy, but he was like an assassin, and he was like,
he wanted it to be a serious character, and then I feel like Joe Kelly like made him like more of a like the comic relief.
Yeah.
That run, I love that run of Deadpool, but I agree with you. Like, I can't, like, and I love the character, but like it's a lot now. I mean, I'll go see the next movie. Like, the movies are great.
It's good for movies.
Comic wise, like, it's a lot. Like, maybe let him go for a little bit.
Yeah, like a couple of years ago, they did a run where what was his name right now? Now my brain just. He's usually Scotty Young was writing it, and I usually like Scotty Young stuff, so I said I'll give it a try. It's a new #1. I didn't get halfway through it before I closed it and was like, forget it. It's just not written for us. It's not. It's like not. It's written for teenage boys who like fart jokes.
Yeah,
it's kind of. But that's it. So Matt, what villain would you be?
I'm gonna pick a real. You said for one day, right?
Yeah, only for one day.
So pretty simple. Lex Luthor. because I would empty his bank accounts into my name, and then that's it. One day I'd be like, just give me all this money. I'd cash him out, just fill up duffel bags full of cash, and then that's it. The next day I'd be myself again, and it'd be off to the races.
Money.
That's awesome.
That would work. Yeah.
You're the real villain here.
Yeah. That's it.
Oh, that's tough. That is a tough question. Because
what's your answer?
Well, like Pete said, all villains, I believe, think they're the hero of their story. Like they can all like say, "Well, I'm trying to do this, to better this or to make this better." Kind of like Thanos. Like he thought that he was doing the universe a favor by getting rid of half of the people in it.
Yeah.
So I'd say I like Dr. Doom. I just think because he's another one who doesn't think he's a villain. He thinks he's the leader of a country. He's doing what he needs to for those people, and he just does not like Reed Richards.
Yeah,
I mean, to be honest, like
I don't blame him.
Like Reed Richards, kind of a jerk. Like,
yeah, it's like you read those, and I'm like, how is he still married? Like, how did she not leave him?
Yeah,
like
some of the older issues haven't aged well. That's for sure.
Well, you want to talk about aging well? Go back and read an issue of X-Men. I'm trying to remember what issue it is. It's a very early issue because I do this blog where I'm working my way through all like from way back in issue 1 always through, and there's an issue back and Xavier's like thinking to himself about Jean Grey, and he's like saying that he can't tell her how much he loves her and all this stuff. I'm like, she's a 16-year-old girl at that point.
Oh my god!
And it actually comes back again at one point in the what the heck? I can't think of his name. The big Magneto. Magneto
Onslaught
in the Onslaught storyline where she goes into Xavier's mind, they show it again where he's thinking that, and everyone just glossed over it. But when you go back and read that, like when I'm like, that's kind of freaky that this old guy is having thoughts about 16-year-old Jean Grey.
Yeah.
It's like that would not fly today.
No, I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's like that. Then when you read that, then it puts the whole rest of the series in a whole different context. Like,
not a great one.
Yeah. So, and I always tell everybody, I was like, everyone says about Stan Lee being this great writer. I have yet to read an issue that I think is written very good. Like,
well, I think for the time he was right because it's like. The writing as a whole has evolved. I'm not the word guy. That's
Matt.
him. But when you read older books, there's like this forced dialogue, right? Like, yes, Cyclops, use your optic blast to break that wall while Iceman throws his snowballs. And it's very forced. And I think within the last 60, 70. However many years it's been, like writing has just evolved, and it's gone from something that was written to, entertain children to entertaining the masses.
Yeah.
That's where somebody like your Brian K. Vaughns, your Brian Michael Bendis, they excel at their craft because they can just write. They're not writing to a targeted audience per se. Their targeted audience is people who like good writing. Stan's audience was kids who like to look at pictures.
Yep.
So
but they're also very wordy. Like you can get through a modern day comic book. Literally, I could take a floppy into the bathroom with me and be done before I come out.
Yeah,
but you take one of those in there, and you're like, "All right, I've been in here for an hour. I'm still not finished with this issue."
Yeah, and a lot of it is rehashed. Like the very next issue, you get that. Yes, Cyclops, use your again, and it's it's like this repetitiveness for sure.
Yeah, but it's I still like to go back because that's way before our time, and like just to get that like the X-Men I don't think really started until after it was canceled. Like it's sad to say, like once it
Yeah,
got canceled and then it came back later, and that's like kind of where the real X-Men story starts to develop, because those first ones
yeah,
were kind of very like monster of the episode, like monster of the month kind of. We go in,
yeah,
we beat that guy, and come. But there was a lot of like neat stuff, like how the government was the financial backing of the X-Men in the early
yep,
days,
yep. I
and they
remember
bought
that.
like the X plane and all that stuff, and they had a helicopter.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like it went from being episodic to like arc driven,
Yeah,
right? It's like when it came back with what's that? Uncanny 142,
yeah, something like
I
that. And they had
think.
that big size, the giant size X-Men, and then it went in because I was trying to find where that is because it was a bunch of reprints, and then boom, there's a new one.
Yeah,
So it's kind of
yeah,
hard. You have to like go through there and find that
yeah.
spot.
I mean, to me, Chris Claremont's X-Men is X-Men.
Yeah,
Like before that, yeah, it was still good in a lot of ways. And even afterward, there's been plenty of good writers after him, but he set the tone.
yeah, and he
He's the
was
one that,
so good at long-term storytelling. Like he would
yes,
drop like this little hint, and it might be 3 years down the line before he
yeah,
comes back to hit on that, and you're like, I totally
yeah.
forgot about that. Yeah, so it's,
They actually released a series. I think it was called, maybe it was called X-Men Legends or
yeah,
something kind of generic, where he came back and it was like he was continuing where his arc ended as if it never ended. And there were some interesting tidbits in there, but there was also some things that's kind of like, all right, I'm glad he didn't do that.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, but it was good. Worth checking out for sure.
yeah, yeah. And I think it's on Amazon Prime. They have like a documentary
Hmm.
about Claremont. I don't know if you ever
Yeah,
watched that.
I
And
did. I thought it was pretty good.
yeah, a lot of the stuff like when he killed off Jean, Jim Shooter promised him she wasn't coming back,
Yeah,
and then they decided to do X
Jim
Factors. Like,
Shooter.
yeah, and then Shooter's like, guess what? And he's just like, oh, Jean's coming back. You son of a yeah. It was like Jim Shooter was weird. I don't know. Like every
Yeah.
time I've ever heard anything about him, he was kind of like he got there by luck by writing. I'm going to write these stories when I'm 16 years old and send them to Marvel or DC or wherever. When he got it was DC because he was writing the Legion like stories and sending them to DC, and they hired him not even knowing he was 16 until he had to. They told him he had to come to the studio for something. He was like freaking out. He's like, I can't. I have school.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was all right. I have one more question, and this is kind of weird, but if you were going to put three things into a time capsule to be open in 50 years, what three things would you want to put in the time capsule?
Ooh.
That's a really good question. Does it
And to
have to
make it
be
even
like? Does it have to be personal things, or does it have to be like things to represent like this time period? What's
I
the?
would think it would be like just to represent, because usually people don't put personal things. You just take stuff and put in there. Like some people probably put like an iPhone or something in it, so in 50 years it can see what we have or had.
Hmm. I would put in. Man, it's a tough one. Um, I'd put in a $5 stylus because that's what I started on, and I would love, and I can't imagine what people 50 years from now would think that it is. Um, I would put in a compilation of YouTubers playing Minecraft because I think 50 years from now, Minecraft will still be going strong,
Oh my
and
god!
but maybe YouTube won't be, and and people be like, these are the heroes of old, and maybe it'd be a thing. And then I would put in a Big Mac because from what I understand, people who have done that before open it up and the Big Mac doesn't look like it's aged, and I don't really believe that. And I would like to know if it in fact ages.
That would be scary, actually. Like,
Yeah, it would be.
I like how Pete is assuming that he's going to be alive in 50 years.
Yeah. No, I could. That just puts me at 90, man. I got that.
Yeah.
yeah.
I got it.
Man, this is a tough question. Part of me wants to be like, oh, I'd put in like a COVID face mask or something, but no, let's not like revisit that in the future.
Yeah.
Who knows? In the future, we might be wearing those all the time.
True.
Like Japan.
I mean, yeah. Listen, they're onto something because they're all fit as a fiddle and they live to like 1,000. So I put my cat in there for sure.
Yeah, Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah. No. I would. Man, this is really tough. I would put in an action figure of Orange Cassidy from All Elite Wrestling. And it's funny because I just happened to look. I looked off camera to my wall because I have that figure on my wall right now. And the reason why I would do that because for two reasons. Number one, because he's bizarre and amazing. I love Orange Cassidy. I think it's a great character. And two, because I think people would not understand, like, you know,
why is there a little man in our?
Yeah, why is there a guy in like all like wearing a Canadian tuxedo in this? Why is he an action figure? Like, what's his deal? So
he's not orange.
Yeah. Why is he called Orange Cassidy? Like, what's his story? That and also like in the hopes that AEW is still around in 50 years by some miracle. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, like, you know, just I want that company to persevere. I want them to be around forever. So that would be one of them. I'm still looking around. Man, this is tough. 50 years. Maybe like a Nintendo Switch. Again, I'm looking around and I'm just looking at random shit in my apartment. Maybe even Nintendo Switch to see if like kids are like, oh, look at this thing. It's weird. Like, how quaint. Like, we have like VR that we don't even need to wear headsets for. Like, it's just like contact lenses that we pop in our eyes and we're in another world. And then the last thing, the very last thing I would put in a time capsule that I'd want them to open 50 years from now is a copy of the Bardic Verses available on Kickstarter at tbvkickstarter.com. That's how you do this thing. Thank you very much.
I knew one of you were going to have to say it.
I had no choice. I was building up to it.
Well, because I was going to say I would definitely put like a comic book in it. Not necessarily mine, but a comic book, because everyone says that, you know, the printed comic is dying. It's all going to be digital. And I would like to see
never going to happen.
No, there's too many people like the feel of a book in their house.
Collectors, first of all, I mean, listen, like, I think the weird, like, NFTs and Bitcoin, like, that's a weird collector thing. But I think the physical copies, like, that's never going to die. It's too coveted. Like, fans would never, ever let print die. And it just doesn't make, and it's not the same. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's nice to read a comic on a tablet because I don't have to store it. I don't have to carry it if I move. Like, it doesn't weigh a ton. It doesn't take up space. Like, it's just there. I have one tablet with like 1,000 comics on it. I don't have to worry about it. But like, I would prefer reading comics like by holding them in my hand and turning the pages and like really absorbing the art. So again, like, I feel like other collectors feel the exact same way. So we'll never ever get rid of print comics. I don't think.
No.
And then I would probably put in a bunch of Blu-ray DVD, Blu-ray movies, because again, everyone says that's like a dying thing. Everything's going to be digital. We're going to watch all of our media digitally. And I don't know. I stream a lot of stuff, but I still like to have control of my stuff. Like, if I want to watch something that isn't on streaming, I can still watch it.
I have Blu-rays for the sole reason that if my internet goes out, like I have something to watch if I need.
I mean, I still have VHS tapes, so that's and a VCR that works. So,
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, because I have to be able to watch my old school Star Wars movies before they edited them and made Greedo shoot at Han Solo first. I don't know what else. That's tough. So I haven't even because I'm trying to think of things that are today but might not be around then. And I would have said like a video game console because even like maybe even game discs because that's another thing like people think will be going away. That it's all going. I mean, I'm probably part of that because I download a lot of games.
Yeah, I think for sure like that might go away because there's really I guess no need for them because that's not like they're not really collector's items anymore. And it is easier to just like I don't have to go to GameStop. Let's stop. I went to GameStop today to try to get a copy of Deathloop for PS5, and they didn't have it. It just came out. It just came out on Tuesday. When did games come out?
Yeah,
Tuesday. Shows how like
my Walmart has it.
Yeah. So like I went to GameStop. They're like, yeah, we don't have it, but here's a bunch of stores within a 20-mile radius that have it. The nearest store to me was like 20 minutes away. And there was a Best Buy like across the parking lot. I just drove to Best Buy and bought, and they had the game in stock. And it's like, you know, I shouldn't have like I get like why they do it. They want people to pre-order, and that gets them in the store to buy the other bullshit that they have in the store. But I like as a consumer, like I want to be able to walk in the store and buy the game and walk out. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like sure, maybe I should have pre-ordered it, but I didn't. Like, so let me go in the store to buy it. That's what the store is there for. So to your point, I think like digital will be eventually the way they're going to go to just get rid of like having to go to box stores to buy the copy of the discs. Cheap plug for Deathloop.
Yeah, I have a friend. I've known him for like since the electronics boutique days. He's like I would say he's an area manager. I don't know if they call them there because he like actually manages a couple stores in our area. But I always told him it felt like he was following me because when I was younger, I'd go to electronics boutique, and he was the manager there at that one. And then I moved, and then I went to the GameStop there, and he was there. And then I moved someplace else, and he was there. And now I'm back here, and he's still up. You know, it's like you're following me around. Like
it's a little creepy, yeah.
Yes, but I told there was something like he said about because there was a game I was asking about. He goes, "If I was you, I would pre-order it because if you don't, you're not going to get it because we only get enough in for pre-orders and maybe one or two extra." So
I get it. I totally understand it. Like it makes perfect sense to me, but it's annoying. Again, like I just want to be able to walk in the store and listen. I'm already in the store, so yeah, I'm gonna like go look at the action figures and go look at the other like doodads they have, and probably buy something else. But like to not have just a small handful of copies is insane to
me. Okay, my computer froze there for a minute. I was like, "What happened?" My internet sometimes is really sketchy, which doesn't make sense because I can reach over and touch the modem, and the Xfinity place is literally at the end of my street. Like, so I should never have my cable or internet go out. Like, literally, it's like right there.
I live out in the middle of the woods. If a bird is on a wire and farts, I lose internet for an hour. So
well, the town that I grew up in still does not have cable, if you can believe that.
Wow.
Yeah. So, my brother lives out there, so every house has like DirecTV. Like DirecTV makes all of its money from that small little village, and it's like a dead end village. There's only one way in, one way out. If that bridge would ever go out, that town is screwed.
Wow.
It's bad, but that was the little town I grew up in, and I always I'm a big Stephen King fan, and I always thought, like, when It came out, the miniseries, it takes place in Derry, Maine. Well, we went to Derry High School.
Nice.
So we were all like freaking out because it took place in Derry. And then the town we lived in is Torrance. And the guy from The Shining, his last name is Torrance.
Torrance.
Yeah. So I'm like, come on, man. You're just writing it about our area. Quit it.
he was following you just like that electronics boutique guy.
Yeah. Mark. I tell him all the time.
You should look outside. Is there a van outside right now?
Yeah. Well, I think we've wasted enough of everyone's time tonight. Make sure everyone goes and checks out the Bardic Verses on Kickstarter right now. I know you can get there by I can't remember. I had it written down.
It's TBV, so like the initials of the Bardic Verses. TBVKickstarter.com.
There we go. And I'll make sure I share all that out. Let everyone know, like, if on your where they can find you guys on the great interwebs. Besides, like, if anyone wants to follow you on Twitters or anything, do you use tweet? Are you tweeters?
I tweet the grams on the head book all the time. I can be found on almost all social media as PAC, P-A-C, illustration.
PAC, like the wrestler. Who's
PAC. Well, spoiler, my middle name starts with an A.
It's Aquaman, guys. It's his middle name's Aquaman.
It's Pete Aquaman Cullen.
Damn it, Matt.
I can be found on every social media. We're talking Friendster, MySpace, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Match.com, all of it.
TikTok.
TikTok. Club Penguin. RuneScape.
Club Penguin.
Yeah. Second Life. It's at Mattman Begins. So like Batman, but with an M and two T's.
Nice. Mattman Begins. What's he begin?
He begins a writing career that takes him in a lot of weird places.
Yes. Well, I thank you guys for coming on and hanging out with me for a little bit. Welcome to come back anytime. Sometimes we just appreciate to hang out. We don't have to promote anything. Kind of like last week, we had probably 8 other creators on, so we just rotated. We were on here for 3.5 hours, just talking nonsense.
Cool,
so,
awesome.
So have a good night, everybody. And like I tell everybody, go out. Do you have? Oh, I forgot to ask. Do you have any con appearances coming up besides you said New York City Comic Con? That's
just New York for now. And I think once the Kickstarter funds and the book is printed, we'll start. I think next year, mid next year, we'll start hitting shows, local shows probably in the tri-state area, and and just spreading the word about the Bardic Verses.
Nice. Well, thank you guys again for coming on, and like I said, stop back anytime. I'll make sure I share all of this stuff out on my socials and all that good stuff. So
cool.
Have a good night, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, guys, that was the show for tonight. I want to thank the guys from the Bardic Verses for stopping by. Make sure you check them out on Facebook. Last check, they were just under $600 away from funding, with 103 backers and 23 days to go. And they'll be at New York City Comic Con coming up, and in October 8th through the 10th, I will be at the Sci-Fi Valley Con in Altoona, Pennsylvania. I'll be at table G13. You'll find us there. I will have some of my books for sale, some of the books I've colored, probably the Broke Down 4 Dead Bodies. I have all 4 issues of that, and I have some of the variant covers and artist covers, and things like that. Have some of my other books, Project 34 and Darkest Night, that will be available there. And I'll be doing commissions and things. So, and I know a bunch of my friends right now are in Dallas for the Dallas Con Expo, whatever it's called. A bunch of people there. Make sure you go check them out. Any of your other small shows that are around, be sure you go check those out. And like I say, go in and help support these creators. Even if you donate $1, something great happens. You get more comics. So have a good weekend, everybody. Have fun. I'm not exactly sure who's on next week. We might do another creator roundtable. Who knows? But good night. Peace out. Have fun. Be good to